In the vast, glittering expanse of the cosmos, where stars whispered secrets to wandering souls and nebulae painted the void in hues of electric blue and fiery crimson, Ely Thompson found himself hurtling toward what he hoped would be the vacation of a lifetime. At 2005, Ely was your everyday guy, a software engineer from Seattle who spent his days debugging code and his nights dreaming of adventure beyond the smog-choked skyline. He'd scrimped and saved for months, skipping lattes and late-night takeout, all to afford a budget getaway on the orbital resort station known as Nebula Haven. It wasn't the ritzy spots like the lunar palaces or the Venusian spas that the elite flaunted on their social feeds. No, this was a no-frills deal, a cheap room booked through a shady Interstellar app that promised stellar views at rock-bottom prices. Little did he know, the stars had something far more electrifying in store. As the shuttle docked with a gentle thud, Ely stepped out into the bustling atrium of the station, his duffel bag slung over one shoulder. The air hummed with the low thrum of life support systems, mingled with the chatter of alien tourists from a dozen worlds. He glanced at his wrist holo, confirming his room assignment Sector 7, Pod 42. Finally, he muttered, a grin breaking across his face. No bosses, no deadlines, just me, some zero-G relaxation, and maybe a few Holovid marathons. He weaved through the crowd, past towering insectoid beings clicking their mandibles in conversation and graceful avians fluttering their iridescent wings. The station was a melting pot of the galaxy, a neutral hub where humans like him could rub elbows with the exotic without the hassle of interstellar politics. Reaching his pod, Ely swiped his access card, and the door hissed open to reveal a cramped but cozy space. The room was basic, a viewport overlooking a swirling gas giant, a compact galley for synth meals, and in the center, the prize a single, oversized bed that doubled as a sleep pod, complete with adjustable gravity fields for that perfect weightless slumber. Not bad for the price, he said aloud, tossing his bag onto the floor and flopping back onto the mattress. It molded to his body like a lover's embrace, soft and inviting. He closed his eyes, letting the hum of the station lull him into a peaceful drift. But peace, as it turned out, was a fleeting illusion in the stars. It started with a faint shimmer in the air, like heat rising from a desert road. Ely's eyes snapped open just in time to see two figures materialize out of nowhere, their forms coalescing from wisps of ethereal light. They were stunning, twin visions of otherworldly beauty that made his heart skip a beat. Both had cascading hair as white as fresh snow on a mountain peak, framing faces with high cheekbones and eyes that glowed like embers in the dim light. Their skin was a flawless porcelain, almost luminescent, and atop their heads perched delicate, pointed ears that twitched with curiosity, reminiscent of ancient Earth legends about elves or foxes. They wore outfits that screamed elegance and allure, flowing silks in shades of midnight blue and silver, clinging to curves that could make a monk reconsider his vows. One had a mischievous tilt to her lips, the other a more intense gaze, but together, they exuded an aura of untamed grace. Whoa, what the? Ely bolted upright, his voice echoing in the small room. This is my pod, how did you get in here? The one with the playful smile stepped forward first, her tail swishing behind her like a fox's brush, confirming his suspicion. These weren't just any aliens, they were Vulpari from Zerathia, a reclusive world known for its cunning inhabitants who blended Vulpine agility with elfin mysticism. Oh, sweet human, she purred, her voice a melodic trill that sent shivers down his spine. I'm Lyra, and this is my sister Zara. We've been displaced. Our shuttle malfunctioned, and this pod was the nearest sanctuary. Surely you won't mind sharing? Zara crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing with a mix of amusement and challenge. The bed is ours now. It's the only one that resonates with our energy fields. Move aside, or we'll make you. Ely's mind raced. Displaced, energy fields. This had to be a scam, some interstellar prank show. But as he looked closer, he saw the faint glow of their auras, a telltale sign of Zerathian tech cloaking devices that allowed them to phase through walls. They weren't kidding. And that bed? It was the centerpiece of his holiday dreams. Look, ladies, I paid good credits for this. There's got to be another room. Station security. Lyra laughed, a sound like tinkling bells, and sauntered closer, her hips swaying in a way that made it hard for Ely to focus. Security? On a budget station like this? They'd laugh us out of the airlock. Besides, we're not here to harm you. Quite the opposite. She traced a finger along the edge of the bed, her touch leaving a faint trail of sparkles. Zara leaned against the wall, watching with a smirk, her tail curling lazily. Ely felt a flush creep up his neck. These two were trouble wrapped in temptation, and he was suddenly very aware of how alone they were in this pod. Okay, fine. But why the bed? Can't you, I don't know, phase into the floor or something? Zara's eyes flashed. Our kind needs harmonic resonance to rest. This bed's fields align perfectly. Yours don't. She glanced at Lyra, who nodded eagerly. Before Ellie could protest further, Lyra hopped onto the mattress, stretching out with a contented sigh. Perfect. Join us, human. Ellie, was it? We read your bioscan on entry. You're intriguing, strong-willed, clever. Humans like you are legends in Zerathia. The ones who conquer stars with sheer grit. Ely blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. Legends, him. He was just a guy who fixed bugs in apps. But something in her tone stirred a spark of confidence. Flattery won't get you my bed, he said, trying to sound firm, but his voice wavered as Zara joined her sister, the two of them lounging like queens on what was supposed to be his throne. The air grew thick with tension, a mix of curiosity and something more primal. Ely stood there, duffel at his feet, wondering if this was the start of a nightmare or the wildest story he'd ever tell. Little did he know, these Fox sisters weren't just stranded, they were on the run, and he'd just become their unwitting ally in a galactic game of cat and mouse. But for now, as Lyra patted the space beside her with a wink, Ely felt the pull of adventure tugging at him, stronger than any gravity field. As the station's lights dimmed for the artificial night cycle, Ely paced the small room, his mind a whirlwind. The sisters watched him with those glowing eyes, their presence filling the space like a charged storm. Tell us about Earth, Lyra coaxed, her voice soft and inviting. We've heard tales of your oceans, your mountains. And your passions. Zara chuckled lowly. Humans are resilient, that's why we chose this pod. Your energy, it's compatible. Compatible. Ely stopped pacing, his curiosity piqued despite himself. What do you mean, and why are you really here? No one just malfunctions into a locked room. The sisters exchanged a glance, a silent communication that spoke volumes. Zara sat up, her silk garment slipping slightly off one shoulder, revealing the smooth curve of her skin. We're scouts from Zerathia. Our world is complicated. Rivals seek our clan's secrets. We needed a hideout, and your booking pinged as low profile. Lyra nodded, her ears twitching. But now that we're here, perhaps fate has plans. Humans have a way of turning chaos into triumph. Sci-fi, as you say, humanity, fuck yeah. We've studied your broadcasts. Inspiring. Ellie couldn't help but laugh, the absurdity hitting him. You know about AFI memes? From Reddit archives. He sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under his weight. The proximity to them was intoxicating, their scents like wildflowers mixed with ozone. As they talked, the conversation flowed effortlessly, weaving through stories of distant worlds and earthly wonders. Lyra shared tales of Zerathia's crystal forests, where trees sang under twin moons, while Zara described the thrill of phasing through shadows during hunts. Ely, in turn, painted pictures of rainy Seattle nights and the rush of coding a breakthrough. Hours slipped by, the tension easing into something warmer, more electric. But beneath it all, a undercurrent simmered. Every brush of Lyra's tail against his leg, every intense stare from Zara, built a quiet anticipation. Ely found himself drawn in, his initial annoyance melting into fascination. These weren't invaders, they were enigmas, beautiful and bold, challenging him in ways no vacation brochure could promise. When the station's alarm softly chimed for sleep mode, Lyra stretched again, her body arching gracefully. The bed is big enough for 3, Ely. No need for the floor. Share with us, let's see what humans are truly made of. Zara's eyes met his, a challenge and an invitation wrapped in one. Or are you afraid? Ella's pulse quickened. Afraid? No. Intrigued? Absolutely. As he hesitated, the viewport framed a shooting star streaking past, a sign from the universe perhaps. With a deep breath he slid onto the bed, sandwiched between the two sisters, their warmth enveloping him like a cosmic blanket. What followed was a night of whispered secrets and tentative touches, the boundaries between species blurring in the dark. Lyra's fingers traced patterns on his arm, sending sparks through his veins, while Zara's breath on his neck stirred dreams he never knew he had. It was innocent at first, explorations of curiosity, but the spark ignited something deeper, a connection that transcended worlds. By morning cycle, Ely awoke to find them still there, their white hair splayed like halos. But the peace was short-lived. A distant rumble echoed through the station, a sign that trouble was brewing. The sisters stirred, their ears perking up. "They're here," Zara whispered, her voice laced with urgency. Ely sat up, adrenaline surging. "Who?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Our pursuers. Rival clans from Zerathia. They want our phasing tech." In that moment, Ely realized his cheap holiday had just upgraded to a front-row seat in an interstellar drama. But as he looked at the sisters, vulnerable yet fierce, a protective fire kindled in his chest. Humans didn't back down, they adapted, they fought, they won. "Then let's handle this," he said, his voice steady. Together. The adventure was just beginning, and Ely, the ordinary Earth guy, was about to become a legend in his own right. The rumble grew louder, vibrating through the station's hull like the growl of some cosmic beast awakening from slumber. Ella's heart pounded in sync with it, the adrenaline sharpening his senses as he glanced between Lyra and Zara. The sisters had bolted upright on the bed, their elegant forms tense, ears perked forward like alert sentinels. Lyra's hand instinctively reached for his arm, her touch warm and electric, sending a jolt through him that was equal parts fear and something far more intimate. "They're close," she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. "The hunters from our rival clan, they've tracked our phase signature." Zara slipped off the mattress with fluid grace, her silk garment whispering against her skin as she moved to the viewport. She peered out into the starry void, her white hair catching the faint glow of the gas giant below. "We thought we'd shaken them on the last jump, but they're persistent. Like shadows that cling to the light." Her voice held an edge of defiance, but Ely caught the flicker of vulnerability in her eyes, a rare crack in her fierce facade. Ely swung his legs over the side of the bed, his mind racing. This wasn't the holiday he'd signed up for, but damn if it didn't stir something primal in him, a human drive to protect and prevail that HFY stories always romanticized. "Okay, tell me everything. Who are these hunters? What do they want?" Lyra pulled him closer, her body pressing against his in a way that made it hard to focus. Her curves molded to him softly, her scent a mix of wild berries and stardust enveloping him. "Our clan guards the ancient phasing crystals of Zerathia. They allow us to slip between realities, to hide in plain sight. The rivals want them to dominate the trade routes, to turn our world into their empire." She traced a finger along his collarbone, her touch lingering, as if drawing strength from the contact. "We stole away with a shard to safeguard it, but now they're here." The station shuddered again, and a distant alarm blared, a muffled wail that echoed through the corridors. Ely could feel the tension coiling tighter, like a spring ready to snap. He stood pulling Lyra with him, their hands entwined. Zara turned from the window, her eyes locking onto theirs with an intensity that made the air thicken. "We can't run forever. But with you, Ely, humans are unpredictable. Your kind turns the tide in ways we aliens can't foresee." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Ely felt the weight of their gazes, the way Lyra's fingers tightened in his, Zara's tail brushing against his leg in a subtle, teasing caress. The room felt smaller, the bed looming like an invitation amid the chaos. "Then we fight smart," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I've got tech from Earth, nothing fancy, but my wrist holo can hack basic systems. Maybe jam their sensors?" Zara's lips curved into a slow, seductive smile, her pointed ears twitching with approval. She stepped closer, sandwiching him between her and Lyra, their bodies a tantalizing barrier against the cold metal walls. "Clever boy. But first, we need to sync our energies. Our phasing works best when aligned." Her hand slid up his chest, fingers splaying over his heartbeat, which quickened under her touch. Lyra leaned in from behind, her lips brushing his neck in a feather-light kiss that sent sparks racing down his spine. "It's not just about tech, Ely. It's about connection. Let us show you." Her voice was a husky murmur, laced with promise, as her hands explored the contours of his back, pulling him deeper into their embrace. The suspense hung in the air like charged particles before a storm. Ely's breath caught, his rational mind warring with the surge of desire. These sisters weren't just beautiful, they were a force of nature, their alien allure drawing him in like gravity. He turned slightly, capturing Lyra's gaze, her ember eyes smoldering with need. "What do you mean, align?" Zara's fingers danced lower, tracing the hem of his shirt, her touch igniting a fire that spread through him. "Our auras intertwine with yours. It's intimate, human, sensual. It amplifies our powers and yours. She pressed against him, her body soft yet firm, the silk of her outfit sliding like liquid over her skin. The station's alarm grew fainter, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Ely hesitated only a moment before surrendering to the pull. He lifted Zara's chin, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that started tentative but deepened into something fierce. Her taste was exotic, sweet and spicy, like forbidden fruit from a distant orchard. Lyra's hands roamed freely now, slipping under his shirt to caress his bare skin, her breath quickening as she nipped at his earlobe. They moved as one toward the bed, the earlier invasion now a shared sanctuary. Ayla's shirt came off in a blur, tossed aside as the sisters' garments loosened, revealing more of their luminous skin. Lyra's curves were a masterpiece of grace, her breasts rising and falling with each heated breath, while Zara's athletic form promised strength wrapped in silk. Their tails intertwined behind them, a symbol of their bond, as they guided him down onto the mattress. The erotic tension built slowly, suspenseful in its unfolding. Every touch was deliberate, every glance loaded with anticipation. Lyra straddled his lap, her white hair cascading over them like a veil, her hips grinding gently against him in a rhythm that mirrored the station's hum. "Feel us, Illy," she whispered, her voice a sultry command. "Let our energies merge." Zara knelt beside them, her hands exploring, teasing, heightening the sensation until Illy's world narrowed to the heat of their bodies. The air shimmered with their phasing auras, faint glows dancing across their skin, syncing with his pulse. It was more than physical, it was a fusion, a erotic dance of souls, where human resilience met alien mysticism. As Lyra's lips trailed down his chest, leaving a trail of fire, Zara captured his mouth again, her tongue exploring with bold curiosity. The suspense of the impending threat outside only amplified the intensity within the knowledge that hunters lurked just beyond the door made every caress feel stolen, every moan a defiance. Illy's hands found their way to Lyra's waist, pulling her closer, his fingers digging into her soft flesh as she arched into him. The bed's gravity fields adjusted automatically, making their movements weightless, bodies floating in a sensual orbit. Zara's tail wrapped around his thigh, a playful restraint that sent shivers through him, her breaths coming in soft gasps as she watched her sister with envious hunger. Time stretched, the erotic haze blurring the line between pleasure and power. Lyra's movements grew more urgent, her body undulating against his, building a crescendo that promised release. "You're stronger than you know," she gasped, her eyes locking onto his. "This bond, it will save us." Zara joined in fully now, her hands and lips everywhere, the three of them entangled in a web of limbs and whispers. The suspense peaked as Ely felt their energies align, a surge of warmth that flooded his veins, sharpening his senses, awakening something heroic within. It was erotic ecstasy, a union that transcended species, where vulnerability turned to strength. But even in the throes, the distant rumble reminded them of the danger. As they crested the wave together, bodies slick and trembling, a sharp knock echoed at the door, insistent, ominous. The hunters had arrived. Illy's eyes flew open, the afterglow mixing with alarm. Lyra and Zara disentangled slowly, their glows brighter now, infused with his human essence. "They're here," Zara said, her voice steady despite the flush on her cheeks. With their bond forged in fire, Ellie rose, ready to face whatever came next. The erotic interlude had not just been pleasure, it was preparation, a suspenseful prelude to the battle ahead. And in that moment, he felt truly alive. A human hero in a galaxy of wonders. The knock came again, louder this time, rattling the pod's frame. Ely glanced at the sisters, their bodies still humming with residual energy, clothes hastily readjusted but unable to hide the flush of their shared intimacy. "Stay behind me," he murmured, though he knew they were far from helpless. Zara smirked, her tail flicking with renewed vigor. "Oh, Ely, after that? We're right beside you." Lyra nodded, her hand slipping into his, a silent promise of unity. He approached the door, wrist holo at the ready, hacking into the station's cams for a peek outside. The feed flickered to life, two burly figures in cloaked suits, their faces obscured by visors, pounding with armored fists. Zerathian hunters, no doubt ruthless and equipped. The suspense thickened, hearts racing anew. But now, empowered by their erotic fusion, Ely felt unbreakable. Humanity's grit, amplified by alien allure, was about to shine. As the door hissed open under duress, the confrontation loomed, an erotic aftertaste lingering amid the thrill of impending clash. The door slid open with a protesting groan, revealing the two hunters in all their menacing glory. They were towering brutes, their cloaked suits rippling with embedded tech that hummed like angry bees phasing armor, no doubt, designed to shift them in and out of visibility at will. The lead one's visor gleamed under the corridor lights, reflecting Ile's determined face back at him like a warped mirror. Behind the intruder, his partner scanned the hall with a handheld device, its screen pulsing red as it locked onto the sisters' energy signatures. Ely stood his ground, the pod's threshold a fragile barrier between safety and chaos. His wrist holo buzzed softly, feeding him real-time data. Heart rates elevated. Weapons detected disruptor pistols holstered at their sides, capable of scrambling neural pathways or worse. But after the intimate fusion with Lyra and Zara, Ely felt a surge unlike anything before, a cocktail of human adrenaline and Zerathian aura that sharpened his reflexes, making the world slow just enough for him to think. "Who the hell are you?" Ely demanded, his voice booming with a confidence he barely recognized. The sisters flanked him now, Lyra's hand still in his, Zara's tail coiled tense like a spring. Their presence was a living shield, their synced energies crackling faintly in the air. The lead hunter tilted his head, his voice modulated through the visor into a gravelly snarl. "Hand over the shard, Vulpari traitors." "And the human? Collateral." He raised a gauntleted fist, the air around it shimmering as if reality itself was bending. Zara stepped forward, her eyes blazing with that same ember glow, now intensified by their bond. "You'll have to go through us, Kaler. And trust me, this human isn't collateral, he's the storm you didn't see coming." The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. Kaler? Illy's mind flashed back to the whispers shared in the night. Rival clan leader, ruthless enforcer. This wasn't just a chase, it was personal. Curiosity gnawed at him. What secrets tied these sisters to such a formidable foe? But there was no time for questions. Kaler lunged, his phasing armor flickering as he aimed a disruptor blast straight at Zara. Time seemed to fracture. Ella's enhanced senses kicked in, the world tilting into hyper-focus. He shoved Zara aside just as the bolt sizzled past, scorching the wall behind them in a burst of acrid smoke. The impact rattled the pod, alarms blaring anew throughout the station. Lyra retaliated instantly, her body phasing partially out of phase, her form blurring like a ghost as she hurled a shard of crystal energy from her palm. It streaked like a comet, slamming into Kaler's chest plate and sending him staggering back. "Get them!" Kaler roared to his partner, who charged in with brutal efficiency, swinging a vibro blade that hummed with lethal vibration. The pod erupted into a whirlwind of motion, a dramatic clash where every second pulsed with life or death stakes. Ely dodged a swipe from the second hunter, his body moving with unnatural agility thanks to the fusion. He countered with an improvised hack, his wrist holo projecting a holographic decoy of himself that shimmered into existence, drawing the blade harmlessly through empty air. The hunter growled in frustration, spinning to face the real Ely, who grabbed a loose panel from the wall and swung it like a bat, connecting with the intruder's helmet in a resounding crack. Sparks flew, the visor fracturing. Beneath it, Ely glimpsed a face twisted in rage, feline features, scarred from battles past, eyes glowing with the same Zerathian fire but darkened by hatred. "You dare, human worm!" The hunter spat, lunging again. Meanwhile, Zara and Lyra danced in lethal harmony, their tails whipping like weapons, phasing in and out to evade Kaler's blasts. Zara feinted left, drawing his fire, while Lyra materialized behind him, her nails sharp as claws raking across his armor. The suit held, but a gash appeared, leaking viscous fluid that smoked on the floor. "The shard isn't yours," Lyra cried, her voice a mix of fury and desperation. What was this shard's true power? Ely wondered amid the frenzy, his curiosity spiking even as he fought for his life. Was it just a tool, or something that could reshape worlds? Kaler whirled, catching Lyra off guard with a backhand that sent her tumbling into the bed. She hit with a gasp, the frame buckling under the force. Ely's heart clenched, protective instinct roaring to life. "Lyra!" He abandoned his foe for a split second, diving toward her, but the second hunter capitalized, tackling him to the ground. They rolled in a tangle of limbs, the vibro blade inches from Ely's throat, its hum vibrating through his bones like a death knell. Thrilling energy coursed through him, the bond with the sisters amplifying his strength. He kneed the hunter in the gut, feeling the armor give slightly under the blow, a human's raw power surprising even him. "Get off," Illy grunted, twisting free and scrambling for his duffel. Inside, buried under clothes, was his emergency kit, a compact stun prod from Earth, meant for muggers back home. He activated it with a flick, the device crackling to life as he jammed it into the hunter's exposed neck joint. The brute convulsed, electricity arcing across his form, his phasing armor short-circuiting in a spectacular display of fireworks. He collapsed in a heap, twitching, the scent of ozone filling the air. Ely panted, staring at his handiwork. Humanity fuck, yeah, indeed a simple gadget turning the tide against advanced alien tech. But the climax was far from over. Kaler, seeing his partner down, unleashed a barrage of disruptor fire, forcing Zara to phase fully into the shadows, her form vanishing like mist. "Where are you, coward?" he bellowed, sweeping the room blindly. Ely helped Lyra to her feet, her lip bloodied but her eyes fierce. "The shard," she whispered urgently, pressing a small, glowing crystal into his palm from a hidden pouch in her silk garment. It pulsed warmly, syncing with his heartbeat. "Protect it. It's not just power, it's the key to our world's freedom." Curiosity burned brighter. Now what freedom? From whom? But surprise struck like lightning, the crystal hummed in his grip, awakening latent abilities. Visions flashed in his mind: Zerathia's crystal forests under siege, clans warring over ancient relics that could bend space-time. This shard wasn't a weapon, it was a healer, capable of mending rifts between dimensions, but in the wrong hands, it could tear galaxies apart. Kaler advanced, his armor regenerating, the gash sealing with nanotechnology. "Give it to me, human, or I'll rip it from your corpse." Zara rematerialized suddenly behind him, her tail wrapping around his leg like a vice. "Not today," she yanked, pulling him off balance just as Ely charged, crystal in hand. He didn't know how, but instinct took over. The shard amplified his movements, allowing him to phase partially, his fist passing through Kaler's defenses to connect solidly with his jaw. The impact was dramatic, a crack echoing like thunder. Kaler reeled, visor shattering completely, revealing a face etched with shock. Impossible, a human-wielding Vulpari essence. The thrill of the moment peaked, hearts pounding in unison. Lyra joined the fray, her energy blast merging with Ayla's phased strike in a brilliant explosion of light. Kaler flew back into the corridor, slamming against the opposite wall with bone-jarring force. Alarms wailed louder now, station security finally stirring, distant footsteps thundering toward them. But in the eye of this storm, a surprising twist unfolded. As Kaler struggled to rise, his hand clutched at his chest, not in defeat, but revelation. The shard, it's bonding with him. "A outsider?" His voice cracked, curiosity mirroring Ella's own. Was this envy, or something deeper, a hint of doubt in his clan's cause? Zara stood over him, disruptor now in her grasp, pointed steadily. "Your reign ends here, Kaler. The old ways die with you." Ellie, crystal still glowing in his fist, felt a surge of empathy amid the drama. "Wait," he said, stepping forward. "Why fight? If this thing heals, maybe it can fix whatever broke your world." Kaler's eyes widened in genuine surprise, the thrill of potential alliance hanging in the balance. But before he could respond, the station shook violently, a new rumble, deeper than before. The gas giant outside the viewport churned unnaturally, storms brewing as if the cosmos itself reacted to the shard's awakening. Security drones buzzed into view, lasers priming. "Freeze, intruders identified." The climax crested in a whirlwind of chaos, Kaler phasing away in a desperate escape, leaving his fallen partner behind. Ely, Lyra, and Zara backed into the pod, doors sealing just in time as blasts peppered the hull. Panting, Ely turned to the sisters, the crystal's light illuminating their faces in ethereal glow. "What now?" he asked, voice thick with thrill and unanswered questions. Lyra's hand found his again, her touch a anchor in the storm. "We run. But with you, Ely, we might just win." Zara nodded, a surprising smile breaking through. "And uncover truths even we didn't know." The station's turmoil faded into background noise as they plotted their next move, the dramatic escape only the beginning of a larger saga. Curiosity about the shard's secrets burned, surprises lurking in every shadow, the thrill of their bond propelling them forward into the unknown. Yet, as they huddled close, repairing wounds with tender touches, a new surprise emerged. The crystal pulsed stronger in Ely's presence, hinting at a destiny intertwined. Human and Vulpari, united against the stars, a tale of heroism, love and revelations yet to unfold. The pod systems flickered, warning lights flashing. Outside, more hunters, or allies. The curiosity was intoxicating, the drama unrelenting. Ellie embraced it all, his ordinary life shattered, replaced by something extraordinary. In that breathless aftermath, as Lyra's lips brushed his in a quick, reassuring kiss, and Zara's tail curled protectively around them, Ellie realized the true climax wasn't the fight, it was the awakening within. Thrilling possibilities stretched before them, surprising twists waiting in the wings, drawing them deeper into the galaxy's embrace. The kiss lingered just a moment longer than necessary, Lyra's lips soft and insistent against Isla's, a silent vow amid the fading echoes of chaos. Zara's tail tightened its coil around their waists, pulling them into a huddle that felt both protective and possessive, her warmth seeping through the thin fabric of their clothes. Ellie's mind reeled from the whirlwind, the fight's adrenaline still buzzing in his veins, the shard's glow pulsing faintly in his pocket like a second heartbeat. Thrilling possibilities indeed, but as the station's alarms wound down to a persistent whine, reality crashed back in with all the subtlety of a meteor strike. Security drones hovered outside the sealed door, their red scanners sweeping the corridor like judgmental eyes, and Ellie could hear muffled voices barking orders through the comms. "We can't stay here," Zara murmured, her voice a low rumble that vibrated against his side. She disentangled her tail with a reluctant flick, her ember eyes darting to the viewport where the gas giant's storms raged on, oblivious to their plight. "Station Sec will breach any second. And Kaler? He's not done, he'll rally more hunters." Lyra nodded, wiping a smear of blood from her lip with the back of her hand, her white hair disheveled in a way that somehow made her look even more alluring. "The shards awakening it drew them like moths to a flame. But with you holding it, Ellie, we're a target bigger than a supernova." Ellie swallowed hard, the crystal's weight suddenly feeling like an anchor in his pocket. Him, an ordinary coder from Earth, now the guardian of some interdimensional MacGuffin. The drama escalated in his chest, a mix of terror and exhilaration that made his palms sweat. "Okay, escape plan. My shuttle's docked in Bay 3, it's basic, but it'll get us out. Unless you two have a fancy phase ship hidden somewhere." Zara chuckled, a husky sound that cut through the tension like a knife through butter. "Hidden? In this dump? We'd have better luck phasing into a black hole. Your shuttle it is, but we'll need a diversion." As if on cue, the door panel sparked, security overrides kicking in. The sisters exchanged a glance, their pointed ears twitching in unison, and Ellie felt that synced energy hum between them again, pulling him into the loop. It was intoxicating, this bond, but also awkward as hell, like being the third wheel in a telepathic twin conversation. Guys? Care to share with the class?" Lyra grinned, her mischievous side peeking through the drama. "Watch and learn, human hero." She pressed her palm to the wall, channeling a sliver of the shard's power through their connection. The room shimmered, and suddenly, holographic duplicates of the three of them flickered into existence, ghostly echoes lounging on the bed, arguing in exaggerated whispers. It was a decoy, clever and lifelike, but Ile couldn't help snorting at the sight. His holo self looked comically flustered, waving his arms like a cartoon character. "Not bad," he admitted, stifling a laugh. "But my duplicate needs better hair. Looks like I just rolled out of a 0G tumble dryer." Zara rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched in amusement. Humor in crisis. Typical human. "Now, phase with us, hold tight." They linked hands, the touch sending that familiar spark racing up Ellie's arms, and the world blurred. Phasing felt like diving into warm water, disorienting, exhilarating, with a hint of nausea that made his stomach flip. They slipped through the wall like smoke, emerging into the corridor just as the door burst open behind them. Security drones swarmed in, lasers trained on the holos, their mechanical voices droning, "Intruders, stand down." Ellie peeked back through the phasing veil, watching the chaos unfold. One drone zapped his holo self, which fizzled out with a dramatic "oh." That wasn't programmed. Lyra's cheeky addition, no doubt. The awkward hilarity of it all bubbled up in him, lightening the drama even as they dashed down the hall. "Did you seriously add sound effects? That's gold." Lyra squeezed his hand, her laughter soft and breathless. "Keeps them guessing. Besides, your O was spot on, very human." The station was a labyrinth of flashing lights and panicking tourists, the drama heightening with every turn. Alien species scattered like startled fish. A group of tentacled merchants slithered into hiding, while a burly reptilian bellowed about damned Vulpari tricks. Ela's heart hammered as they weaved through the crowd, the shard's pulse syncing with his steps, drawing curious glances from those sensitive to energy fields. One avian alien cocked its head, feathers ruffling. Is that a human with fox kin? Scandalous. Awkward didn't even cover it. Ely felt exposed, like he was parading through a cosmic convention, with two supermodels on his arms, supermodels who could phase through walls and kick ass. Zara's tail brushed against his leg again, this time accidentally, or was it? Sending a jolt that made him trip over his own feet. He caught himself on a railing, face flushing. Smooth Ely, real smooth. Zara smirked, pulling him upright with effortless strength. Careful, lover boy. Can't have our hero face planting before the big getaway. The humor undercut the tension, but the drama ramped up as they neared Bay 3. Kaler's voice crackled over the station-wide comms, hacked in with malicious ease. The thieves have the shard. Reward for capture, dead or alive? Gasps rippled through the halls, and suddenly, every eye was on them. A opportunistic bounty hunter, a slimy, multi-eyed blob lunged from the shadows, tentacles whipping toward Lyra. Watch out, Illy yelled, shoving her aside and swinging his duffel like a makeshift weapon. It connected with a wet splat, sending the blob reeling, but the creature recovered, oozing forward with surprising speed. You smell like prophet, human. Zara phased in, her claws extended, slashing through the tentacles in a blur. Back off, slimeball. The blob recoiled, but not before splattering Ilay's shirt with gooey residue. He stared down at the mess, dripping and foul-smelling, and groaned. Great. Now I look like I lost a fight with a jelly donut. Lyra burst into giggles, even as she blasted the retreating hunter with an energy pulse. Jelly donut. Your Earth references are adorable and disgusting. The awkward situation turned comical, the three of them laughing amid the pursuit, but the drama pressed on. More opportunists joined the fray, a pair of insectoid mercenaries clicking their mandibles hungrily, lasers charging. They bolted into Bay 3, the shuttle bay's a cavernous space filled with humming ships and the acrid tang of fuel. Ela's modest craft sat at the end, a boxy Earth model that looked downright frumpy next to the sleek alien vessels. There she is, the SS budget breaker. Not pretty, but she'll fly. As they sprinted toward it, a dramatic ambush unfolded. Kaler materialized from the shadows, his armor repaired but scarred, flanked by two fresh hunters. You think you can escape with our birthright? He snarled, disruptors blazing. The air crackled with energy bolts, forcing them to dive behind cargo crates. Ela's pulse raced, the shard heating up in his pocket as if urging him to act. Ideas? He hissed, peeking over the edge to see Kaler advancing, his steps thunderous. Zara's eyes narrowed. Diversion, phase 2. She grabbed Ella's goo-stained shirt, yanking him close for a quick, fierce kiss that left him dazed. For luck and energy boost. Then she phased out, reappearing behind one hunter, tail whipping his legs out from under him. Lyra stayed with Ely, her body pressed against his in the cramped cover. Your turn, hero. Use the shard, focus on me. Her hand guided his to the crystal, their fingers intertwining over it. The awkward intimacy in the midst of battle made Ellie's cheeks burn. Here he was, holding hands like a teenager while lasers zipped overhead. Like this, exactly, she purred, her breath warm on his neck. The shard flared, channeling through their bond into a barrier, a shimmering force field that deflected an incoming blast. Kaler cursed, his shot ricocheting into a nearby ship, sparking a small fire that added to the chaos. Humor struck again as the fire alarm wailed, sprinklers activating overhead. Water cascaded down, soaking them all. Ely sputtered, his hair plastered to his forehead. Romantic getaway, huh? More like a wet t-shirt contest in space. Lyra laughed, water glistening on her porcelain skin, her silk outfit clinging in ways that heightened the awkward, distracting allure. You humans and your contests. But if it helps, she struck a playful pose, even as she hurled another energy bolt. Zara rejoined them, drenched but triumphant, one hunter down. Flirting later, run now. They dashed for the shuttle, Kaler in hot pursuit, his roars echoing. Ely slapped the access panel, the ramp lowering with agonizing slowness. A bolt grazed his shoulder, searing pain lancing through him, but the bond dulled it, turning agony into fuel. They tumbled inside, Ely slamming the controls to seal the door. Strap in. The engines roared to life, the shuttle shuddering as it detached from the dock. Through the viewscreen, Kaler pounded on the hull, his face a mask of fury, but the ship pulled away, thrusting into the void. As Nebula Haven shrank behind them, the drama simmered, laced with awkward relief. Ely slumped in the pilot's seat, shirt ruined, shoulder throbbing, but alive. The sisters flanked him, Lyra tending his wound with gentle touches that strayed into territory both healing and teasing. "You were magnificent," she said, her fingers lingering. Zara leaned in from the other side, her tail draping over his lap like a seatbelt. "For a human. But next time, dodge better or I'll have to kiss it all away." Ely groaned, half in pain, half in embarrassed delight. "You two are going to be the death of me. Or the best story ever." The shuttle hurtled toward Zerathia, unknowns looming, but in that moment, the blend of drama, awkward intimacy, and unexpected humor made the stars feel a little less vast. Yet, as the gas giant's storms faded, a new ping lit the console, an incoming transmission from an unknown source. "Ely Thompson," a voice crackled, smooth and ominous. "We know what you carry, and we want it." The drama heightened once more, awkward alliances tested, with a humorous twist. Who else had they pissed off? Ely exchanged glances with the sisters, their bond pulling tighter. The adventure was far from over, surprises brewing in the cosmic brew. The transmission hung in the cockpit like an unwelcome ghost, the voice's smooth menace echoing faintly before Ely cut the feed with a jab at the console. "Blocked for now," he muttered, leaning back in the pilot's seat, his shoulders still aching from the graze but dulled by the shard's subtle hum. The stars streaked past the viewscreen in hypnotic lines, the shuttle's engines purring steadily as they charted a course toward Zerathia. Lyra and Zara exchanged worried glances, their pointed ears flicking with unease, but the immediate danger felt distant in the confined space, replaced by a charged silence that crackled with unresolved tension. Lyra shifted closer, her hand resting on his thigh in a gesture that started as comfort but lingered with intent. That voice, it could be anyone. Allies of Kaler, or worse, interlopers from other clans. Her fingers traced lazy circles, the touch light yet insistent, stirring warmth that spread through him like slow-burning embers. Zara, ever the pragmatist, checked the nav charts from the company pilot's chair, her tail swishing restlessly. "We have a few hours before we hit Zerathian space. Time to regroup, recharge." She turned to Ely, her ember eyes softening as they met his. "And perhaps deepen our bond. The shard's power flows stronger when we're aligned, body and soul." Ely felt his pulse quicken, the awkward humor from their escape giving way to something more profound, more intimate. The shuttle's dim lighting cast soft shadows over the sisters' forms, their white hair glowing faintly, their silk outfits still damp from the sprinklers, clinging in ways that accentuated every curve. He swallowed, the memory of their earlier fusion fresh in his mind, the way their touches had ignited sparks, blending pleasure with purpose. "Align, huh? You mean like before?" Lyra's smile was knowing, her body leaning into his as she unbuckled her harness. "More than before. The bond we share now, its awakened desires, bridged our worlds. Let us show you how deep it can go." She stood gracefully, pulling him up with her, her hands sliding to his waist, as Zara dimmed the lights further, the cockpit transforming into a private haven amid the stars. The transition felt natural, inevitable, as if the universe itself conspired to draw them together. Illy's hands found Lyra's hips, pulling her close, their bodies fitting like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. Her lips met his in a kiss that started tender but grew hungry, her tongue exploring with a gentle urgency that made him gasp. Zara watched for a moment, her tail curling with anticipation, before joining them, her presence a warm addition that enveloped him from behind. They moved to the small aft compartment, a makeshift lounge with cushioned benches that served as their sanctuary. The shard in Ella's pocket pulsed rhythmically, syncing with their heartbeats, amplifying sensations until every touch felt electric. Lyra's fingers worked at his shirt, peeling it away to reveal his skin, her palms gliding over his chest with reverence. "Your strength, Ellie, it's intoxicating," she whispered, her breath hot against his neck as she planted soft kisses along his collarbone. Zara's hands roamed lower, unfastening his belt with deft precision, her touch teasing yet assured. "Humans are so responsive," she murmured, her voice a sultry purr that sent shivers down his spine. As his clothes fell away, Ely returned the favor, his fingers tracing the edges of their silk garments, sliding them off shoulders and hips with careful exploration. Their bodies were a vision's smooth, luminous skin that seemed to glow under the starlight filtering through a small porthole, curves that invited touch, and those delicate ears that twitched at his every caress. The air grew thick with their shared warmth. The shuttles hum a distant backdrop to their soft sighs and whispers. Lyra guided him down onto the bench, straddling him with graceful ease, her body pressing against his in a rhythm that built slowly, deliberately. Her movements were fluid, like a dance, each shift sending waves of pleasure through them both. Illis' hands cupped her, feeling the softness of her form, the way she arched into his touch, her white hair cascading over them like a veil. Zara knelt beside them, her lips finding Ella's in a deep kiss, while her hands explored Lyra's back, encouraging the connection. The three of them moved in harmony, touches intertwining Zara's tail, brushing sensitively against Ella's thigh, Lyra's hips grinding with increasing fervor. Sensations layered upon one another, the gentle scrape of nails, the press of lips on sensitive spots, the warmth of bodies melding in intimate union. Ailey lost himself in the moment, his world narrowing to the feel of them the way Lyra's breath hitched as they connected more deeply, her eyes locking onto his with a mix of vulnerability and passion. "Feel the bond," she gasped, her movements quickening, drawing him into a crescendo that built like a gathering storm. Zara's involvement added layers of intensity, her touches alternating between tender and bold, her own sighs mingling with theirs as she shared in the ecstasy. Time blurred, the intimacy unfolding in waves, peaks of pleasure that left them breathless, followed by tender pauses where they held each other, whispers of affection exchanged in the afterglow. Ely marveled at the connection, how their alien essences blended with his human resilience, creating something transcendent. Lyra's body trembled against his, her release a soft cry that echoed in the small space, pulling him over the edge with her. Zara followed soon after, her form pressing close, the three of them collapsing in a tangle of limbs and satisfied sighs. They lay there, entwined, the shard's glow fading to a gentle pulse that mirrored their slowing heartbeats. Sweat glistened on their skin, the air scented with their mingled essences, a reminder of the vulnerability they'd shared. Ailey traced patterns on Lyra's arm, his voice soft. "That was incredible, more than just alignment." Zara propped herself up on an elbow, her tail draping lazily over them. "It's the start of something powerful. With this bond, we can face whatever comes, hunters, clans, even that mysterious voice." Lyra nestled closer, her head on his chest. "You're part of us now, Ely. Our hero, our partner." As they caught their breath, the shuttle's console beeped softly, a navigation update, pulling them back to reality. But the intimacy lingered, a strengthening force that wove them tighter together. Ely felt renewed, his ordinary self elevated by their union, ready for the trials ahead. Yet, even in this blissful reprieve, the drama simmered beneath. The transmission's words echoed in his mind, a shadow on their light. Who wanted the shard and why? As they dressed slowly, touches still lingering, Ely glanced at the viewscreen. Zerathia loomed closer, its twin moons visible on the horizon, a world of crystal forests and ancient secrets, where their bond would be tested further. The sisters sensed his thoughts, their synced energies picking up on his unease. Lyra kissed his forehead. "We'll uncover it together. For now, rest in what we've built." Zara nodded, her hand squeezing his. "The stars have more in store, but with you, we're unbreakable." Ellie smiled, pulling them close once more, the afterglow a shield against the unknown. The shuttle sped on, carrying them toward destiny, their intimate connection a beacon in the vastness of space. But as they settled in, a subtle vibration from the shard hinted at more visions flickering in Ella's mind of Zerathia's hidden truths, alliances forming, and passions yet to ignite. The journey deepened, their bond the key to survival and perhaps, something eternal. In the quiet hours that followed, they shared stories of their worlds, laughter mingling with caresses, the intimacy evolving into a profound companionship. Ailey learned of Zerathia's mating rituals, how bonds like theirs could span lifetimes, while the sisters marveled at human emotions, so raw and unfiltered. The shard responded to their closeness, its power stabilizing, ready for the challenges ahead. As Zerathia grew larger on the screen, Ailey felt a surge of confidence, human grit fused with alien grace, a force to reckon with. Their escape from Nebula Haven had been chaotic, but this moment of connection grounded them, turning strangers into soulmates amid the stars. Whatever awaited on Zerathia, rival clans, hidden agendas, or unexpected allies, their union would light the way. And so, with bodies still humming from their shared passion, they prepared for landing, the drama of the galaxy unfolding before them, one intimate step at a time. As the shuttle pierced Zerathia's atmosphere, the twin moons casting silvery beams through the viewscreen like welcoming lanterns, Ellie felt a profound sense of unity with Lyra and Zara. Their bodies still carried the subtle echoes of their shared passion, skin flushed, breaths synchronized in that inexplicable bond forged by touch and trust. Lyra lounged against his shoulder in the pilot's seat, her fingers idly tracing the contours of his arm, while Zara monitored the descent from the nav console, her tail occasionally brushing his knee in a reassuring caress. The crystal forests below began to take shape, sprawling expanses of shimmering quartz that sang faint melodies on the wind, audible even through the hull's filters. "Home," Lyra whispered, her voice laced with a mix of longing and apprehension. "But not as we left it. The clans will sense the shard's return and us." Ely nodded, his hand covering hers, the shard in his pocket thrumming steadily, as if eager to reunite with its origins. The intimacy they'd shared had woven them into a tapestry of strength, human resilience blending with Vulpari grace in ways that made him feel invincible. "Whatever waits down there, we've got this. You two, you've changed everything for me." His words hung soft in the air, a quiet affirmation that drew smiles from both sisters, their ember eyes reflecting the moon's glow. Zara adjusted the thrusters, guiding the ship toward a secluded landing zone amid the forests, a hidden glade known only to their clan. "The bond will guide us, feel it, Ely. It's more than just us now, it's the shard's will, pulling threads of fate." As the shuttle touched down with a gentle thud, the engines winding down to a hum, they unstrapped and gathered their meager supplies. The airlock hissed open, releasing them into Zerathia's crisp, ozone-scented air, where the crystal trees chimed like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The ground underfoot was soft, mossy, alive with bioluminescent veins that pulsed in rhythm with the shard. They stepped out together, hands linked, the sisters' white hair flowing like banners in the wind. The forest enveloped them, a labyrinth of translucent spires that refracted moonlight into rainbows. Lyra led the way, her ears perked for any sign of pursuit, while Zara scanned the surroundings with a handheld device salvaged from the shuttle. "Clear for now," she said, her voice steady. "But Kaler's not far behind. We need to reach the Elder Grove there. The shard can be attuned, its power sealed against misuse." Ely followed, the shard's warmth spreading through him, heightening his senses. He could almost hear the forest's whispers, feel the ancient energies coiling beneath the soil. Their pace was brisk but unhurried, allowing moments for stolen glances and touches, a brush of fingers here, a lingering look there that kept the intimacy alive, a living flame amid the cool night. "Tell me more about this grove," Ellie asked, curiosity threading through his words. "Is it like a temple, some sacred site?" Lyra glanced back, her smile enigmatic. "More than that. It's the heart of Zerathia, where our ancestors first harnessed the phasing crystals. Legends say it's where worlds touch dimensions, brushing like lovers in the dark." Her metaphor drew a chuckle from Zara, who added, "And where bonds like ours are blessed, or tested." The path wound deeper, the crystals growing taller, their songs harmonizing into a symphony that resonated in Ela's chest. But as they crested a ridge, the shard suddenly flared hot against his skin, a warning pulse that made him halt. "Wait, something's off." The sisters froze, their tails stiffening in alert. The air grew thick, charged, as if the forest itself held its breath. From the shadows ahead, figures emerged, not the burly hunters they'd expected, but ethereal forms, cloaked in flowing robes that shimmered like the crystals around them. Elder Vulpari, their faces wise and lined with age, ears longer and more pronounced, eyes glowing with an inner light. At their center stood a tall female, her hair a cascade of silver, her presence commanding. "Lyra, Zara, you've returned with the shard and a human?" Lyra stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Elder Mira, we bring it for safekeeping, the rivals close in." Mira's gaze shifted to Ely, piercing, as if peeling back layers of his soul. "And this one? He carries it." "Why?" Zara placed a protective hand on Ellie's arm. "He's bonded with us. His essence strengthens the shard, human grit, as they say." The elders murmured among themselves, a ripple of surprise and approval. Mira nodded, gesturing them forward. "Come, the grove awaits. But hurry, the winds carry whispers of pursuit." They pressed on, the elders forming a loose escort, their phasing auras creating a protective veil that blurred the group's edges against prying eyes. Ely felt a swell of relief, allies at last, a chance to end the chase. The grove loomed ahead, a circular clearing where massive crystals converged like spokes in a wheel, their tips meeting in a dome of light overhead. At the center, a pedestal pulsed with energy, ready for the shard. As they entered, the air hummed with power, the bond between Lyra and Zara amplifying until it felt like a tangible force. Mira directed Ely to the pedestal. Place it here, bonded one. Let the attunement begin. Ely reached into his pocket, the shard vibrating eagerly. But as his fingers closed around it, a vision slammed into his mind, unbidden, overwhelming. Flashes of memory not his own, a sterile Earth laboratory, white-coated figures hovering over a younger version of himself, strapped to a cold table, serums glowing as they were injected into his veins. He's the prototype, a voice echoed. Infuse the Vulpari DNA, make him the bridge. Then fragmented scenes of training simulations, memory wipes, a planted life in Seattle as cover. The cheap room on Nebula Haven. A calculated trap, his vacation A activation signal when Vulpari signatures were detected. He gasped, staggering back, the shard slipping from his grasp to clatter on the ground. Lyra caught him, concern etching her features. Illy? What is it? He blinked, the world spinning as the full weight crashed down. I remember everything now. It's not just fragments, it's all unlocking. His voice trembled, the twist uncoiling like a venomous serpent in his gut. The elders froze, Mira's eyes widening in sudden recognition, as if ancient prophecies aligned before her. Zara picked up the shard, her tail lashing. Talk to us. What's happening? Ellie straightened, the pieces falling into place with horrifying clarity. I'm not who I thought I was. Not at all. Earth didn't stumble upon Zerathia they've known for decades, stealing your tech from crashed scouts, experimenting in secret labs. And me, I was their masterpiece. Engineered from birth, human base, spliced with Vulpari genetics to make me compatible, a perfect infiltrator. Memories erased, a fake life implanted. The bond, it was designed to happen. I was programmed to draw you in, sync with the shard, and deliver it back to them. The surprise rippled through the group like a shockwave, gasps echoing in the grove. Lyra's hand flew to her mouth, her ember eyes filling with a storm of horror, betrayal and heartbreak. Programmed. You mean everything we shared, the touches, the fusion, it was all a lie. A trap? No. Ely protested, though a cold dread clawed at him, doubt seeping in like poison. The feelings are real, I know they are. But the setup, yes. That transmission earlier? It was my handlers, checking in. I'm the key to their invasion, a living conduit for phasing their fleets here. Mira stepped forward, her aura flaring protectively. The old scrolls warned of a false bridge, one who walks between worlds but carries destruction. You are he. Zara's face hardened, her trust fracturing visibly, tail coiling tight as if ready to strike. Our intimacy, the battles we fought side by side, was it all coded? A simulation to gain our secrets. Ely reached for her, but she stepped back, the gesture slicing through him like a blade. I swear, what I feel for you both, it's mine, not some program. The bond woke something genuine in me. But the shard attuning it here triggered the recall. Earth wants to use me to rip open rifts, conquer Zerathia for its resources. As if summoned by his words, the grove's crystals dimmed, a holographic projection flickering to life from the shard itself, an automated failsafe. The Admiral's face appeared, stern and triumphant. Agent Thompson, protocol engaged. Secure the asset. Extraction teams en route. Schematics overlaid Ayla's body as a weaponized portal, the sisters as collateral leverage. The twist deepened, surprise layering upon shock. Kaler burst into the clearing then, not as foe but drawn by the energy surge, his hunters flanking him. What's this madness? He demanded, eyes locking on the hologram. Illy's voice broke. They used you too, Kaler. Your deals with Earth, bait to flush out the shard. I'm the endgame. Kaler's roar shook the trees. Traitors, all of you? But his rage turned inward, realization dawning he'd been a pawn, his clan ambitions manipulated. Lyra's tears fell now, her voice a whisper. Ely, who are you truly? Our lover, or their monster? He met her gaze, torn between programmed loyalty and the fierce love blooming despite it all. I thought I was just a guy from Earth. But now I'm the invasion's heart. They can activate me remotely, turn me against you. Mira raised her hands, elders channeling barriers. If true, you're a bomb. But the shard chose you. Why? The crystal pulsed, projecting more. Earth's hidden agenda, not just conquest, but desperation. Their world dying from overexploitation, shards seen as salvation batteries. But in Ely, they'd created a hybrid to harvest them ethically, or so they claimed while planning total domination. As Kaler's forces clashed with incoming Earth drones phasing through experimental rifts, the surprise peaked. Illa's body seized, commands overriding his will, energy building to open a massive portal. "Fight it!" Zara cried, lunging to him, her touch sparking resistance. Lyra joined, their bodies pressing against his, lips meeting in a desperate kiss that flooded him with memories of their true connection, the shuttle's passion, the station's battles. "Remember us," Lyra gasped, hands roaming to reignite the bond, overriding code with raw emotion. Ellie screamed, willpower clashing with programming, the grove quaking. With a surge, he shattered the control, redirecting the energy to seal the rifts, blasting drones back. Panting, he collapsed into their arms. "I chose you, I broke free." The sisters held him, shock melting into fierce protectiveness. "Then let's end this," Zara said, claws extended. As Earth ships loomed in the skies, the twist had redefined everything: alliances shattered, love tested, a hybrid reborn as hero. The battle raged anew, but now with Ely at the core, his origins a weapon turned against the creators. Elders phased warriors into position, Kaler rallying his hunters with renewed fury. For Zerathia and against the deceivers. Ely rose, shard fused to his palm, glowing with hybrid power. "I'm not their tool anymore. I'm yours." Blasts lit the forest, drones swarming like insects. Lyra's energy bolts felled clusters, Zara's phasing strikes dismantling suits. La hacked systems mid-battle, his Earth knowledge turning tech against itself, shields failing, portals collapsing. The Admiral's voice boomed from speakers: "Thompson, you're ours. Activate Omega." Ella's form flickered, residual code tugging, but the sister's presence anchored him. "Not today," he growled, unleashing a wave that crippled the flagship. As invaders retreated, the grove held firm. Ely turned to Lyra and Zara, bonds reforged stronger. "It's over, no, just the start." Mira approached, wonder in her eyes. "The false bridge has become the true one. But greater threats awaken." Ely nodded, embracing them. The powerful twist had surprised all, but from its ashes, unity rose: human, Vulpari, unbreakable. Zerathia's fate secured for now, with love as the ultimate defiance. Mira's words lingered in the air like a prophecy unfolding, her silver hair catching the faint glow of the grove's crystals as she gestured toward the horizon, where the retreating Earth ships painted streaks of fire across the dawn sky. The invaders had pulled back, their flagship listing like a wounded beast, but the victory felt fragile, a momentary breath in the storm. Ely held Lyra and Zara closer, their bodies still humming with the adrenaline of battle and the intimacy of their bond, the shard's fusion to his palm a constant, warm reminder of his transformation. His skin tingled where it had merged, veins glowing faintly with Vulpari essence, a hybrid mark that made him feel both empowered and exposed. "Greater threats?" he echoed, his voice rough from the shouts of combat. "Like what, more fleets? Or something worse?" Lyra nestled against him, her white hair disheveled from the fray, her porcelain skin smudged with dirt but radiant in the early light. "The shard's awakening, it ripples through dimensions. Old legends speak of guardians roused, or devourers drawn by the power." Her hand traced the glowing veins on his arm, a touch that sent sparks through him, blending comfort with a subtle undercurrent of desire. Zara, ever the warrior, scanned the tree line, her tail flicking restlessly. "We can't linger. Kaler's hunters are securing the perimeter, but Earth's retreat might be a feint. And Uncle's loyalty." She shot a glance at Kaler, who barked orders to his men nearby, his armored form casting long shadows. "It's as reliable as a phased wall in a storm." Kaler caught her words, striding over with a scowl that deepened the scars on his face. "Doubt me all you want, niece. I fought for Zerathia today, not for him." His ember eyes flicked to Ely, lingering on the fused shard with a mix of envy and suspicion. "Though I admit, hybrid, your little light show was impressive. For a lab rat." The drama thickened instantly, the air crackling with familial tension that made Ely shift uncomfortably between the sisters. Here he was, the engineered outsider, now thrust into what felt like a Vulpari soap opera, complete with brooding uncles and whispered betrayals. Lab rat. Ouch. And here I thought we were bonding over blowing up drones. Anyone want to fill me in on the family drama? Or is this the part where we hug it out? Lyra stifled a giggle, her pointed ears twitching, but Zara's glare could have phased through armor. "Uncle Kaler split from our clan years ago, chased power deals with off-worlders, including Earth. Our father disowned him before the wars claimed him. And now, here he is, playing hero." Kaler's tail lashed, his voice a low growl. "Your father was a fool, clinging to old ways. I sought strength to protect us. And if allying with humans meant tech to rival the stars, so be it. But this?" He jabbed a finger at Ely. Earth's pet turning savior? It's a joke. Ely raised his hands, the awkwardness peaking as elders nearby pretended not to eavesdrop, their auras flickering with suppressed amusement. Whoa, easy there, family. I'm no one's pet unless you count these two, but that's more of a mutual adoption. Look, if we're going to face greater threats, maybe save the roast for after? I make a mean Earth-style barbecue if we survive. Zara's lips twitched despite herself, a reluctant smile breaking through. Barbecue? With what phased meat? Your human quips are going to get us killed, Allie. But her tail curled around his leg, a playful squeeze that eased the sting of the moment, even as Kaler huffed and turned away, muttering about soft-hearted hybrids. Mira cleared her throat, drawing them back to the escalating drama. The legends are stirring. The Shard's fusion has awakened the Veil Wardens, ancient entities that guard dimensional boundaries. They see you, Aele, as an abomination, a bridge forced open, inviting chaos. Reports from the outer clan's rifts are tearing, shadows spilling through. As if on cue, the ground trembled, crystals vibrating with a dissonant chord that set Elia's teeth on edge. A distant roar echoed, not mechanical like Earth's drones, but primal, like the galaxy itself growling. Lyra's eyes widened. They're here. The Wardens testing us. The group mobilized, phasing through the forest toward the rift's epicenter, a swirling vortex of darkness amid a cluster of shattered crystals. The drama heightened with every step, the air growing colder, heavier, as shadowy tendrils lashed out like living whips. Kaler's hunters formed a vanguard, their phasing auras clashing with the void's pull. But one warrior misstepped, a tendril snaring his leg and yanking him into the rift with a scream that cut off abruptly. Form up. Kaler bellowed, his voice steady but laced with fear. Ely felt the shard pulse, urging him forward, but the bond with the sisters amplified his hesitation. This wasn't code he could hack, it was cosmic fury. Zara phased ahead, her form blurring as she struck at a tendril, claws rending shadow stuff that reformed instantly. We need to close it from within. She glanced back at Ely, eyes fierce. Your hybrid power, it's the key. Lyra nodded, pressing close to him amid the chaos. But together, the bond seals what the shard opens. Her touch on his arm ignited sparks, a reminder of their intimate fusions, but with Kaler glaring and elders watching, the suggestion hung awkward and charged. Kaler overheard, his face twisting. You mean that ritual nonsense again? With me anchoring? I'd rather wrestle a warden bare-handed. Ely couldn't suppress a nervous laugh, the humor bubbling up as a defense against the mounting dread. Hey, if it worked last time, why not? Though if we're doing family bonding round 2, someone brings snacks. Nothing says save the universe like awkward group hugs with interdimensional tentacles crashing the party. Zara elbowed him, but her chuckle echoed, lightening the group's resolve. You're incorrigible. Fine, link up. They formed the circle at the rift's edge, the drama cresting as shadows howled, tendrils whipping closer. Ely at the center, shard raised, Lyra and Zara's hands on his shoulders, their essences flowing into him like rivers merging. Kaler joined reluctantly, his grip on Zara's arm stiff, aura clashing with theirs. This better not involve feelings, he grumbled. Mira channeled from outside, elders amplifying. Focus the bond, human will, Vulpari flow, blood tie to ground it. Energy surged, the rift buckling under the pressure. But a warden's form coalesced, a colossal ethereal beast of shadow and light, eyes like black holes fixating on Ely. Abomination, it thundered, voice vibrating bones. You tear the veil! Ely's body strained, the hybrid fusion pushing back, but awkward glitches arose, Kaler's discomfort disrupting the flow, his tail accidentally smacking Allie's side. Watch your aim. Allie yelped, shifting and causing Lyra to stumble, her curve pressing against him in a way that flushed his cheeks mid-crisis. Sorry, Lyra gasped, righting herself with a laugh that bordered on hysterical. Not the time for distractions. Zara smirked through gritted teeth. Focus, you two. Or we'll phase right into its maw. The humor steadied them, turning panic into precision. Ellie channeled deeper, the shard blazing, weaving their essences into a net that ensnared the warden. We're not tearing anything, we're mending it, he roared, human grit fueling the seal. The beast howled, thrashing, but the bond held, rifts collapsing in cascades of light. As the final shadow dissipated, the grove stilled, the warden banished back to its vigil. Panting, the circle broke, Kaler stepping away with a nod that bordered on respect. Not bad, hybrid. Maybe there's Vulpari in you after all. Ailey slumped against a crystal, Lyra and Zara collapsing beside him, their bodies entangled in exhausted relief. We did it, Lyra whispered, her head on his chest. Zara's tail draped over them. But Earth's envoys wait. The real test peace or more war. The drama lingered, awkward alliances tested, but with humor as their shield, they rose to face it, bonds unbreakable, the stars aligning for a fragile hope. As Earth's envoys signaled their approach, descending through the now calm skies in a sleek diplomatic vessel that gleamed under Zerathia's twin suns, Ely felt a surge of resolve mingle with the exhaustion in his bones. The rift's closure had left the forest humming with renewed harmony, the crystals mending their cracks like living wounds healing, their soft chimes a backdrop to the group's weary, but triumphant gathering. Lyra and Zara leaned into him, their bodies warm and steadying, tails still draped possessively, as if to claim him anew after the ritual's intimate strain. Kaler stood a bit apart, his hunters forming a loose perimeter, his gruff nod acknowledging the fragile truce they'd forged in the heat of battle. Mira and the elders hovered nearby, auras pulsing faintly, ready to mediate what could be the galaxy's turning point. The vessel touched down gently in the clearing, its ramp extending with a hydraulic whisper. Out stepped a delegation, not the stern admiral from before, his defeat too fresh for pride to allow, but a seasoned negotiator, a woman with kind eyes and a uniform adorned with peace emblems, flanked by scientists and Vulpari expatriates who'd once fled Earth's grasp. Harbinger Ellie, she addressed him directly, her voice carrying respect rather than command. We've monitored the events. Your stand against the Wardens, it saved more than Zerathia. Earth's sensors detected the rifts threatening our colonies too. We're here not as conquerors, but as partners if you'll have us. Ely glanced at Lyra and Zara, their ember eyes meeting his in silent conference, the bond allowing a flow of thoughts and emotions that needed no words. Lyra's hand tightened in his, her porcelain skin still flushed from the fight, while Zara's tail curled tighter, a subtle affirmation. Partners, Ely replied, stepping forward with them at his sides, but on equal terms. No more experiments, no hidden agendas. Share the shard's knowledge to heal your world, and we'll help stabilize the veils between dimensions. Zerathia opens its groves, not its heart, to those who prove worthy. The negotiator nodded, extending a holographic charter that shimmered in the air, clauses unfolding like petals. Agreed. Joint councils, tech exchanges, mutual defense against cosmic threats like the Wardens. And amnesty for those misled like your uncle here. She glanced at Kaler, who bristled but held his tongue, his scarred face softening ever so slightly, as Zara shot him a look that mixed forgiveness with warning. Negotiations flowed under the crystal canopy, the drama of potential conflict giving way to cautious optimism. Awkward moments arose, a human diplomat mispronouncing Vulpari names, eliciting a chuckle from Lyra, or Kaler grumbling about soft earth customs during a shared meal of synth fruits and crystal-infused nectar. Ellie diffused one tense exchange with a quip, "Hey, if we can hug it out in a ritual to save the universe, sharing lunch should be easy. Pass the phased berries?" Zara smirked, her hand on his knee under the table. "You're turning diplomacy into comedy hour." But the humor bridged gaps, turning former enemies into tentative allies. By sunset, the charter was sealed, etched into the shard itself, a binding fusion of human code and Vulpari essence. Earth's vessels departed with promises of aid convoys, leaving Zerathia to breathe freely, its forests alive with the songs of renewal. Ely, Lyra and Zara wandered to a quiet overlook, the twin moons rising once more, casting silver paths across the landscape. Ely pulled them close, the three of them sinking onto the soft moss, bodies entwining in a familiar, comforting tangle. "From a budget room mix-up to this," he murmured, his fingers tracing Lyra's pointed ear, then Zara's curve. "I thought I was just escaping deadlines. Turns out I found my destiny." Lyra's lips brushed his neck, her voice a husky whisper. "You were our missing piece, Ely. The human who taught us love transcends worlds." Her touch wandered, reigniting sparks from their earlier fusions, the bond humming with promise. Zara joined, her kiss fierce and deep, tale wrapping them all, and adventure awaits, exploring rifts, forging alliances. With you, we're infinite. As stars wheeled overhead, Ely marveled at the journey from programmed pawn to free hero, his grit amplified by their grace. Zerathia thrived, Earth healed, the galaxy a tapestry of unity. In quiet nights they'd share stories, laughs and passions, their trio a legend whispered among the crystals. And so, in the vast cosmos, where humans proved their mettle and love conquered divides, Ayla's story ended not with farewell, but with forever a good ending, where bonds endured, and the unknown beckon with open arms.